Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Inspire Before We Expire show. I am your host, Terrell Sumter. Guys, I'm very grateful, thankful, and graceful to see another day. That's never a promise. Before we start today's show, guys, I just want us to take some time. Now, I want us to close our eyes. I want us to breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I just want us all to take a moment. I just want us to just really think about the last time we really felt whole. Who we was around, and what may have came up during that time. Now I want you to open. I want you all to know that you are not alone in this journey. We're living in times of crisis, but there's always a path ahead that shows, and God shows you as well, that there's a lot in store for you. And we are in this together. We are in this to grow. Although we may know what it may feel like to be at the very bottom, I believe in you. So I just want you to believe in you. Guys, I'm not going to take too much of your time. But I have a very special guest on my show today. This is his second appearance. This guy is phenomenal, a humble servant. To know him is to love him. Like I said, we had him on the show before. I'm not going to take too much of giving an introduction because he needs no introduction, or so like that. He's a digital entrepreneur, a husband first, loving man, a family man, a friend. This guy here, man, he's definitely an inspiring individual to follow, guys. He's making an impact. So I want to introduce you to one of my good friends, the man himself, coming out of Michigan, his home state, Luke Hessler. Luke, welcome to the Inspire Before We Expire, man.
Thank you for having me, Ra. I'm super excited to be back on the show, and I'm excited to see what type of content we got, man. It's always an honor, always a privilege having a conversation with you, brother.
Absolutely. Thank you for being a part, man, and thank you for making your second appearance. Honestly, probably the first to do. Luke, what is it that people don't see, man? As me and you just was talking, and we talk like every day, you talk a lot about the grind and putting time in, but what is it that the people don't see that you would like to share that's going to bring some value to our younger people?
Yeah, good question, man. So I think there's two things that I'll say with this. Number one is I think that people don't see the scars, I think that in life, especially with social media, like it's like a human highlight reel, it's like, here's all the best, everything is perfect, and like people think that's just how life is for you. And you think everything's great, but straight up in my life, people can definitely learn more from my scars than they can from my accolades. People don't see the process. They just see the end result. They see the social media, they see whatever, and that's how they do it. So number one is people don't see the scars. Number two is people don't see the sacrifice. There's a phrase that I live my life by, and it's do what others won't now so I can live like others can't later, and that's why, I'm down to sacrifice, going to the beach. I'm down to sacrifice, playing video games. I'm down to sacrifice, going out to the movies or hanging out with friends or partying. Like I don't do any of that stuff. Like I watch a little bit of Netflix at night with my girl, for quality time there, but that's really about all the entertainment that I do in my life. The rest of it is just focus, and it's work, and it takes that sacrifice. And I don't think most people are willing to sacrifice their wants of today for their dreams of the future, and that's what it takes. That's really what it takes. I remember when I was in college, when I started doing this, and I was in a fraternity, and like, in fraternities, everyone's partying all the time. Everyone's, doing their thing. And like, I just stopped going, and I would work, because I had school during the day or during the week. And then I had the weekend was my time to work. So I stopped using that time to party. I started using that time to work. I got a bunch of backlash from my friends. Everyone like, oh, you changed, you this, blah, 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 but that has what set me up to where I am today. So yeah, I would say two things. I would say the scars and then the sacrifice.
Absolutely, man. I love that. Honestly, I wanted to ask, how do we get in the space of alignment, man? How do we really go towards what's really calling us? But sometimes we just afraid because, like you say, we have those distractions around us, people that's really not supporting us.
Yeah. I mean, I think step number one is you got to decide what you want. I think most of the time people are living a life that was suggested to them by the people around them. Whether that be their parents, whether that be teachers, whether that be just their guardians, whether that be their friends, in the media, whatever, like most people are living a life not of their dreams, but a suggestion of the people around them of what those people think is right for you. But at the end of the day, no one knows you like you know you. And so I think what you got to do first is you got to ask yourself a question. And this is what I do this still to this day. Ask yourself a question is like, what would I do if time and money were no issue and I knew it were impossible to fail? Imagine you hit the lottery tomorrow for $1 billion, and you just get the superpower where with literally whatever you want always works out. It's impossible to fail. Like what does your life look like? And write that out. It's an exercise that I was taught by a mentor called Life as You Wish It to Be. And then once you know that, then you can start to create the plan of how to get there. But I think of it like a GPS, like when you get a GPS, you got to put in the destination first, and then once you put in the destination, then it creates the route. Too many people are focused on the route before they even know the destination, and that's a challenge, but once you get clear on where you're going to go, like let's say I'm in Michigan, I want to go to California. All right, now I know I'm going to California. Now it's like, what are all the different routes I can get there? Well, I can hitchhike there, I can walk there, I can get a car there, I could ride a bike, I can get a plane, like there's all these different ways to go and get there. But the challenge that most people have is that they don't have a very clear destination in mind of what their dream is. And so then they what Napoleon Hill calls drifting, it's they drift. They just go from day to day, thing to thing without any clear direction. But when you get that clarity, that's what pushes you forward. That's what allows you to make the decision, because now after you know where you're going, every decision you make is either going to take you a step closer to it or a step further away. And so when you get an opportunity to do something, you just got to ask yourself, will this thing take me a step closer to my goal or will it not? Like if I have a goal to be a millionaire, great, awesome. I want to make millions of dollars. Awesome. Now, will going to the party take you a step closer to that or not? Like will watching TV today take you a step closer to that or not? And what you start realizing is most of the habits you've done your whole life won't. So then you replace those habits with things that will. But again, at the end of the day, if you don't have that clear destination in mind, it's impossible to know where to go or what direction to take, because how do you know, unless you know where you're going to go.
Absolutely, man. I love the energy. Who is that person in your corner, man? I know you spoke of mentors, and when you and I have conversations or so, you always speak of mentors. So who was that mentor in your life, man? That really helped and guided you to help you being who you are, but just like being explosive, man. The learning, the listening, the sharing, and everything of that nature. Like, who was that person that you know in your corner during the time?
Yeah, really good question, man. And I'll say my greatest mentor in my life has been my parents. Okay. I have been very blessed. My mom has a fiery work ethic, like it's just ridiculous. And my dad is very similar to it, and so they always gave me this high standard in life. I was the kid who got in trouble if I got a B, or an A minus, like, or even if I'm playing sports and I got second and third, they're like, you could have worked harder to get first, like, and so they always put this standard in my mind of excellence. And that hasn't left, and so I'm super grateful for them. In regards to mentors that I'll sometimes refer to about like these different techniques and like doing things like that, most of my mentors have not been personal mentors. Most of them I've been mentors through books, have been mentors through audios, have been mentors through events that I've attended, and I then personalize and apply, that type of information. And so when I look back on my life, I would say that my parents, have been my greatest mentors. And then other than that, everything else I've learned has either come from, a seminar that I attended, a call I got on, a book I read, an audio that I listened to, or some things have happened through my own experience, of failing and getting back up and different things like that. But I think that's a big mistake a lot of people make, is they think they got to have this physical mentor that's there, like holding their hand all the time. And it's like, does that help? Absolutely. Because what I think physical mentors do more than anything is accountability. They make sure you do what you need to do, like that is so important, because most people know what they need to do. They just can't get themselves to do it, and so the physical mentor will help you stay accountable for doing what you need to do, and then give you a little pep talk if things are going wrong, and that's amazing to have. But it's not required to have either, like I very rarely in my life have had, I don't think ever actually in my business have I had someone that's like, Luke, I'm going to mentor you. And they just like were there from zero to here, it was more just books, audios, and then, the kind of the mindset and the standards that my parents, raised me with. So.
It's amazing, man. And what are some principles, man, you've applied to your life, man, that has helped you, build these successful companies and even the people around you, man, as well? You can share that.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So I would say there's 4 principles that I've learned. And this I learned from an audio called Your Wish Is Your Command. This guy was a mentor of mine. I never met him in person, but I studied him a lot. And he talks about these 4 basics, and I apply these to my life today. The first basic is who do you listen to? And so anytime that I'm in a conversation, someone's giving me advice, someone's telling me what to do or how to do it. People always are giving their opinions. And so it's like with so much noise, how do you know whose opinions to take seriously? And he answered that question by saying 2 things. He said, you got to listen to people who have what you want. People who have achieved the results. If you want to get in great shape, listen to someone who's in great shape. If you want to be a great parent, listen to someone who's raised an incredible family. If you want to make money, listen to someone who's made money. Because when you accept people's philosophy, you accept their lifestyle. And so that was the first principle. And then the second part of that principle of, who do you listen to, is not just listening to people who have what you want, but listening to people who were at where you're at, So for example, when I started, like I came from a family and they loved me and I was able to travel and amazing things. But like when I was 18, it was like, good luck, you're on your own, we're not giving you any money, like you got to figure this out. Right. And so, I thankfully, was able to, I'm thankful for that push, because I had to figure it out how to go from nothing to something. They never loan, the biggest thing they did for me, financially is being able to give me a loan to start my first business for $600, and like, I'm so grateful for that. Most people wouldn't even have that opportunity, but like, that's what I got, that's what I did. But what's cool about it is that I really started from the bottom. I didn't have any money. I didn't have anything. And I made something of myself. And so that's where he talks about not just people who have what you want, but who have been where you are, is that you can't learn from someone who was very successful because they got a Harvard degree if you don't have a Harvard degree. You can't learn from someone how to become successful if they were successful because they got a loan for, $10 million from their parents. If you don't have parents that can give you a loan for $10 million, so you got to find those people who are at the exact place that you're at and then have done the things that you want to do. And then, that's step 1. So who do you listen to? Then step 2 that he talked about is this thing called like a teachability index. So now, like after you find that mentor, it's like, how teachable are you? In the way that he put it, was basically the teachability index is like 2 numbers to it. And the first one is your willingness to accept change. Your willingness to accept change. So when they say, okay, you got to do this, are you willing to do that? And the best way to know if you have a high willingness to accept change is like, think of the thing that you love most. Are you willing to give that up for a short amount of time? Maybe it's partying, maybe it's watching Netflix, maybe it's video games, maybe it's, whatever it is, are you willing to give up what you love most for a short time to do something else? So your willingness to change. And then the second variable is your willingness to learn. Like how badly do you want to learn the information? How badly do you want to actually grow and develop? How much are you studying the mentor? Are you getting on the calls? Are you connecting into all of those things? And so basically he calls this thing called a teachability index, where you have a willingness to learn and then a willingness to accept change. And if your willingness to learn is a 10, but your willingness to accept change is a 0, 10 times 0 equals 0. You have a 0 teachability index. You will never succeed. You know, and if your willingness to learn, in an ideal world, you want your willingness to learn to be at a 10, and you want your willingness to change to be at a 10. 10 times 10 is 100. You have a 100 teachability index. You're the perfect student. We can go and run. And that's the difference, is that when you find the mentor who knows what they're doing, then you got to have a 10 out of 10 teachability index to do literally, and people who have that do literally whatever it takes. You know, like that's their mindset. It's like, I will do whatever it takes to go and win. You know, like they're not waiting for a way, they freaking find a way, you know, and that's kind of the two principles that are there. And then there's a third principle that he talks about. And he talks about this thing called the training balance scale. And I could talk about this for freaking hours and hours and hours, but basically he talks about, imagine a scale that you have here. And on one side of this, like an old school scale, right? And on one side of the scale, you have like the thinking, the why, the dreams, your visions, your frequency, energy, vibration, you know, kind of like the why on this side. And then the other side, you have the how, the strategies, the techniques, you know, the skill sets, the whatever, right? On this side is the how. And what we're taught in life is that there's a balance between the two. You gotta have a balance between the mindset and the philosophy and the skill set and things like that. And then with over here, you gotta have the how. There's a balance between the why and the how. But what he taught me was that there is no balance. He says that's the myth that keeps people broke, is that they think there's a balance, when in all actuality, it's like 95% why, dream, vision, and only 5% how. And the way he explains this, again, this will be a little bit deep for some of the listeners here, because it's going pretty quick, you know, deep pretty quick. But the way he explains this is that everything in the world is energy. You know, like this pencil, this pen, this, you know, this phone, this computer, it's all energy, right? Because it's atoms. It's a combination of atoms. Atoms is a building block of our universe. And what's an atom? It's protons, electrons, and neutrons that are all circling around this, you know, this nucleus that's right here. And that's what an atom is. And if you go even deeper, what's causing them to circle it around is just energy. So we're in this like ocean of motion where it looks physical, but it's not actually physical, you know? And so that's principle one, is you got to realize that everything is actually energy. Like this table is not actually physical. It's just a bunch of atoms vibrating at a certain frequency, which makes it look physical, you know? And so that's, once you know that, then the second thing that you got to know is that your brain is a receiver and transmitter of frequencies, you know, like it's a receiver and transmitter of frequencies. And so you can put out a certain frequency and it will literally attract into your life circumstances, events, situations, and people that will match that frequency. You know, people call it like the law of attraction. If anyone ever saw The Secret and things like that, right? That kind of popularized this whole concept. I actually did a test, and you can YouTube this. Other people have done it as well, but I did it with a friend of mine where we took 3 things of rice and we put a cup of rice and a cup of water in 3 separate Tupperware containers. And then every night before we went to bed, we then actually wrote down on like a little sheet of paper, like love, hate, and then ignore. And every night before we go to bed, we'd spend a minute and we'd look at the one piece of rice that said hate, and we just spit hate at it. We'd be like, we hate you, rice. You're a piece of crap, rice. You know, you have no point in being in this world, rice. You know, and we just talk crap to this rice, okay? Then the love, we said love to it. You're beautiful, rice. You're amazing. You're abundant. You know, and we spoke love to this rice, and then we ignored the other rice. And we did this for 7 days. And I'm telling you, after 7 days, the one that had the hate was molded and nasty. The one that had the love was not. And then the one that was ignored was the most molded and the most nasty out of all of them when we did this. It had no energy, you know? And so what that shows me is that your thoughts affect physical mass, because it's energy. It's all energy and it's all frequencies. And so that's why, you know, 99%, 95% of success is really your vision. It's your belief. It's your self-image that you see of yourself and who you are. You know, like another example is cybernetics. So like cybernetics are what cause autopilot to work on a plane. It's what makes it so that when you have a thermometer or a thermostat in your house and it goes to 69 degrees and like it's set for 67, boom, the air conditioning kicks on, it brings it back down to 67, right? That's called cybernetics. And there's a book that was written called The New Psycho-Cybernetics, and it talks about how we as of humans have this cybernetic set point where our self-image is kind of like that thermostat. It's set at a certain temperature, 72 degrees, call it that. And if things get too good, what will happen is your thermostat will kick on and you'll start to self-sabotage and it'll go back down. But then when things get bad, what will happen is you'll start kicking it back up and you'll get rolling again. But if you look at most people's life, they're always about at the same place, and that's because that's their set point. That's their psycho-cybernetic set point. That's their self-image. That's their belief of themselves. And so that's the frequency that they are emitting, which is creating their reality, And so it's interesting because most people don't know is you can change your set point. You can go from 72 degrees to 75, 75 to 80, 80 to 85, and you can change that, And so that has a lot to do with reprogramming your subconscious mind through affirmations, through visualization, through reading positive books, listening to great audios, listening to podcasts like this, going to amazing events, being around other people that think like this and talk like this and things like that. And then when you start to see yourself differently, that set point will raise, your frequency will change, and then that will change the physical experiences, that you're having, within your life. And so a lot of people fail because they're focused on the wrong side of that training balance scale. They're focused on the how, this technique, this, when really you should put your energy over here, into how you feel, how you think, how you speak, how you, that's what changes it, because this is the pattern. Your thoughts determine how you feel. How you think about something is going to determine how you feel about something. How you feel about something is going to determine how you act, and how you act is going to determine your results. So many people are focused on changing the acting rather than focusing on the actual foundation and the roots, which is the thoughts. Okay. And so that's the third principle he talks about, training balance scale. And then the fourth thing he talks about is these 4 levels of he calls it consciousness or understanding. And the first level is unconscious incompetence. So basically unconscious incompetence means you don't know what you don't know, right? Like this is most people in the world, they don't even know that they don't know, right? Like think of your perspective as like a radar screen. Think if you're on like a boat, right? And that radar screen is like flashing the bottom of the water, and like it's saying if there's fish or not. It's not showing you the entire ocean. It's just showing you this little part, right? And that's how we all live. Our level of awareness is so limited, right? But people can't acknowledge that they don't know what they don't know. So they go through life thinking they've got it all figured out, and they're not teachable, right? So that goes back to that teachability index, 0, 0. They're never going to win. Okay. So it's like, that's what you first got to realize is you got to say, I don't know what I don't know. And then when you do that, you move from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. So I know that I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like I know that I don't know. And so the next step that you want to get to is called conscious competence. So this is where you know that you know. So think of it like tying a shoe. When you're born, right, you didn't know that you had to tie a shoe. You didn't even know that was a thing, right? Like you just didn't know that was a thing. Then you see all these people tying shoes. You're like, wow, I got to figure that out sometime. So now you know that you don't know how to tie a shoe. So you went from unconscious incompetence to conscious incompetence. Then you're whoever, your parents or your brother or whoever teaches you how to tie a shoe, and they say you take this loop around here and it goes like that, and you got to think about how to tie the shoe. That's conscious competence, where you have to consciously think about how to do it. And then you get to a point at the end where you get to unconscious competence. And this is autopilot. Now, when you go tie your shoe, I guarantee you don't even think about it. You just tie it, you know, and you don't even know what you're doing. You just have done it so many times that this is just who you are. It's just what you do, right? And so this process is how you learn everything in life. It's finding someone who has what you want. It's having a high level teachability. It's being on the correct side of the training balance scale, and then giving yourself enough time and effort to move from, you know, unconscious competence to conscious competence to, you know, from conscious incompetence, conscious competence, and then all the way up to unconscious competence, where it just becomes autopilot in a process. So like I live my life by looking at those principles and through that lens, you know. And anytime I'm doing something new and I'm starting something new, I'm looking at it through that lens. I know I'm going to start at conscious competence. I'm not going to know what I'm doing. It's going to take energy and time, but I know if I just do it long enough and I study the right people who have what I want, and I have it 100% teachability, and I see myself as the end result, I see myself already achieving the results, I'm going to win. You know, I'm going to go and get there. So I know there's a lot of information in a short amount of time, but like that's what I do with the principles. That's how I live.
Absolutely, man. That's amazing, and I love it. Honestly, I think that people need to hear that. You know, our young people, that was a lot of informative information, detailed information that's going to help them and move them in the right direction. Now, what's the gentleman's name, this instructor?
His name is Kevin Trudeau.
Okay, cool.
Kevin Trudeau. Look up Your Wish is Your Command by Kevin Trudeau. It's a 14-hour audio series. It'll blow your mind, man. This guy is so this is an interesting thing. So he basically claims that he was a part of a secret society called the Brotherhood. He calls it like the elite of the elite of the elite society. And he says that he left that society to share information with the world that the elites understand and know, but the rest of the world doesn't have access to. And he calls them the parasitical elite. He said those are the people who are winning at the highest levels that don't want the rest of the world to improve. And then there is like a good elite or whatever who basically want to share this information with the world. And so what he claims is that he left that society to share this information with the world for the masses. And he ended up actually writing a couple books. He wrote a book called The Weight Loss Cures They Don't Want You to Know About, and The Natural Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. And Natural Cures is actually the best-selling nonfiction book of all time. And then Weight Loss Cures They Don't Want You to Know About. He wrote that book, and in the book, he wrote that he found this strategy to be easy. And he said that he found it to be easy, he ended up actually getting 7 years in jail, you know, for saying that it was easy. And so he's actually currently in jail right now because he said that this was easy, you know. And so if you listen to him and read him a little bit, his philosophy is that they put him there because he was sharing all this information and they just needed an excuse to kind of shut him up. You know, but yeah, take it with a grain of salt. You know, I personally believe I've found in my experience is that the information has been very, very valuable, you know, very, very valuable in my life.
Absolutely. Thank you for sharing, man. What do you feel like has been really a long journey you've came so far, man? And you know, you've accomplished many things or so like that, and you've got people chanting for you. But when was that time that you really hit rock bottom and you felt like just giving it all up, but you knew that there was many more miles to go? And how did you overcome?
Yeah, really good question, bro. So I had two of those moments. One of those moments, you know, was when I was 19 and I went to college and I was, you know, partying a lot at the time, and I didn't party at all in high school. And my parents are like ultra conservative, you know, like it's like I can't get a speeding ticket or I get in big trouble, you know, like that type of thing. And so I started partying in college, and I ended up getting, you know, 3 MIPs, which is a minor in possession of alcohol. And after every one, you know, it like broke my mom's heart. And every time I would tell her like, oh, I promise I'll change. I won't do it again. I'm not going to do this. I'm going to get my life straight, all this kind of stuff. And so then after the third one, you know, where I told her this, I remember this distinctly. I was in this drunk tank, you know, and I had to stay there overnight, and I had no money in my account. It was like a $250 bail, and I didn't have any money. So like I couldn't even afford to bail myself out. So it's like 3, 4 in the morning, you know, there's people in this tank who are puking on themselves, peeing on themselves, you know, and I'm like, I got to go to this freaking phone and call my mom, you know, at 3 a.m, wake her up in the middle of the night from jail and say, you know, from the drunk tank, and then say, hey, can you bail me out again? Sorry. And I remember looking at this like foggy mirror that was over the urinal in there. And I looked at myself and I was so disgusted, you know, with the person that was looking back in the mirror. You know, like I hated myself, dude. I hated myself. I'm like, who are you? And I felt like I was throwing away all the potential I'd been given, all the privilege I had, all the everything. I was like, just like a wasted talent, you know, that's really how I felt. And, you know, that was the moment, you know, where I hit bottom and I just said like, enough is enough, you know, like I'm not going to do this anymore. Like I'm going to change. And that's where that phrase, you know, that stuck with me is like when the pain of, you know, staying the same outweighs the pain for change, then you'll change, you know, like then you'll change. And so that was my moment, you know, where I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm gonna figure something out, you know? And then I think it was 2 or 3 months later, I ended up finding my first business. Ended up meeting the guy who's 25. He's making $40,000 a month from a network marketing company. You know, I ended up getting involved with that. And I thought that was my way out. I was so excited. I had such a vision, you know, for where it was going to go. And I'm like, this is going to be it. But then I came out of the gate really hard, you know, like immediately within like 4 days. You know, if those of you who don't know what network marketing is like referrals, you know, and you create a team and you get override commissions on the sales of the team. And so immediately within like 4 days, I ended up getting a team of like 17 people that I recruited from my fraternity. And like this is like a Christmas break, and like it was moving and rolling. I'm like, this is going to be huge. You know, they're all going to go tell their friends, we're going to tell their friends, and we're going to be millionaires, and it's going to be great. So I came back from Christmas break thinking that all of these people were going to go and tell all their friends and it was going to be huge. And then I came back and literally every single one of them quit on me, you know, every single one of them quit on me. And so now they're mad at me because they think that I like got them to spend this money and like, you know, I scammed them or whatever. And so then I got a nickname of scammer in the fraternity, you know, and my girlfriend at the time thought I was freaking nuts. I was with her for like 2.5 years. And I had this decision to make, you know, where I was either going to just quit and like kind of go back to my normal life and blame the model, the system, and say, oh, it doesn't work, this, that, or whatever. You know, or I was gonna take responsibility. I'm gonna say, you know what, this does work. I've seen other people win here, and whatever's been done can be duplicated. So I know it's obviously possible. Someone's going to be the one to bring it to this area and make it move. So if not me, then who? And so I made that decision at that moment to keep going and to persevere. And then the next, you know, 5 months were just the worst, dude. You know, like I couldn't do anything to make anything work. You know, my grades started going down. I lost all my friends, you know, honestly, that I had there. You know, my parents were disappointed in me because my grades, you know, so I'm now having them down my back being like, we told you these things don't work, stop hemorrhaging money. You know, my girl gave me an ultimatum where I got to choose between her and the business, you know, and it was tough, man, you know, but I kept persevering, I kept going. And I remember like 5 months in, you know, like it was just, nothing was really working out. And like, this is the first time in my life that I got serious, like, I guess depression is probably what it was, you know. I never got like diagnosed with it, but that had to be what it was. I couldn't sleep. I had anxiety all the time. It just was the worst, you know. It was like, I remember walking around at like 3 a.m, you know, just going on a walk to try and clear my head, you know, just doing whatever I could. And I remember finding this park, and there was a swing set there. And you know, I remember just like sitting on the swing set, and I just bawled crying, dude. Like it just all came out to me. And like, I just focusing on everything I'd sacrificed and how I didn't have anything to show for it. And like, I was so confused, and like, I wanted to quit so bad. And like, I remember like first praying to God and being like what, like, am I being deceived right now? You know, like, is this really my path to success? Because I was so confident when I first heard about it, this was what it was going to be. And I'm like, even if this is my path to success, is it even worth it if I'm sacrificing all of these things? You know, is this ever going to happen to me? Like, just give me a sign. And then, you know, when I asked for that sign, I saw a shooting star go across the sky, like right when I asked for that. And like, that was my, that was my, like, I interpreted that as like God being like, you're good, you're on the path you need to go on, keep going, it's going to be okay. And I immediately started laughing, you know, and the reason was that it all made sense right there. Like, I started to realize that the reason I had gone through the pain and the struggle and the hardship and the failure was so that in the future, when other people went through the same thing, I'd be able to look them in the eyes and say, keep going, it's worth it, you know, because I know what it feels like to sacrifice everything. I know what it feels like to think it's never going to work. I know what that's like, you know. And so right when I changed my perspective on my situation, and after that happened, the next day I ended up meeting a guy who ended up being my top earner, and his name was Jamie. He was working at Taco Bell at the time, and he was the first person that just saw the vision. You know, he's like, "This is it, man. We're running. This is going to be it." And Jamie and I went out there and we crushed it. You know, I saw Jamie go from, you know, Taco Bell to six figures in like, you know, 12 months, and you know, and we traveled the world. We built a huge team, and things really started to move. And so those two moments of me that were like at the bottom where I was like, all right, I need to like redefine myself, would be when I was sitting in that drunk tank, looking at the freaking, you know, the mirror, and I was seeing myself having to call my mom again. And then the moment when I was on that swing, just thinking about everything I'd sacrificed, all the failures I'd had, and how I had nothing to show for it, and wondering if it was even ever worth it. But those are the defining moments, you know, because I think that, you know, you have these decisions to make in life, you know, and faith and fear both require believing in something you can't see. And you got to consciously choose faith every single time, you know, you have to, you know, and eventually you just got to know that it's going to work out somehow. And, you know, thankfully it did.
Absolutely. Indeed, man. I love how you involve faith in it too, man. I know you're big on that, man. Tell us about that, you know, building that relationship with the man above and everything of that nature, because I think we can use that, especially during these times of crisis that we're living in.
Yeah, I mean, it's everything, you know, it's really everything. You know, when I got success, you know, at a young age, I hit, you know, six figures at 20, 21, multiple six figures at 23. The business was doing like 10 million a year in revenue. And then I lost all of that, you know, and I had to reset again. You know, thankfully my mental attitude was stronger. And so it didn't affect me. You know, I didn't go into a depression. I didn't do anything. I knew I was in control. Like, I'm okay. I'm gonna keep going. But in that time, it was my first ego death, you know, that I had. You know, and that was when I reconnected with my faith, because I started to realize that just all of this stuff is just, it doesn't make you happy. It's temporary thrills, you know? And I'm like, there's got to be something more. There's got to be something more. And that was when I reestablished my relationship with Christ. You know, I reestablished my relationship with God, and I started living for something bigger than myself. And I started to look at the world through an eternal perspective, you know, realizing that like, this is temporary here. And so, yeah, it's cool to have a nice car, have a nice house, you know, travel the world. It's cool. It's cool. And I think we should do it, because we live in America, and you can't, you know what I'm saying? Most countries, you can't even do it. You don't even have an opportunity, you know? So the fact that we even can here is like, go get it, you know, like go get it. But at the same time, you can't define your identity within those things. And so I've now kind of refound my identity in Christ. I do my best every day. I'm still, you know, trying to, obviously I'm not perfect. I don't think anybody is. But now I have this eternal perspective where, you know, even if things aren't working out the way I'd like them to work out right now, I know ultimately this isn't my home, you know, and ultimately there's a better place there. And so it makes everything simpler, easier, you know, and I put a lot of my faith in him, knowing that it's ultimately gonna, you know, always work out. Even if it doesn't work out in this world, you know, in this lifetime, all my blessings are in the next anyways, really, you know, and that's a very comforting, you know, perspective to have, I would say.
Absolutely. I love that, man. And I'm glad that she was able to gain that relationship with the man above. We have these defining moments in our life, and it takes for us to really not be afraid to get on our hands and knees and pray, man, to have those breaking points, you know, and to be able to break through. But, man, I wanted to get into this, though. So you say, you know, at a young age, you was introduced to this opportunity, network marketing, as did a lot for you or so like that. For young people, right, like even during these times right now, that's looking to apply for a job and may have to look to get an interview, or like, tell us the importance of why people should, if they can't find anything else at this moment, or even if they don't know that direction, of getting involved in network marketing and what it can really do extraordinary for their lives and the people around them.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say even if you do have something else, you can get involved with network marketing. It was by far the best decision I've ever made. It was my entrepreneurship school. You know, like it introduced me. Everything I'm sharing with you, I learned because of that industry. Period. And so, like the first reason that you want to get involved with it is the first principle I was talking about. Who do you listen to? Like in network marketing, you have millionaires who are giving you the secret sauce. They're telling you exactly how they found the success that they have found. And you know that that's true because the more you win, the more they win. So in traditional business and in life, you can find a mentor who'll maybe give you one or two little things, but he's not going to lay out the exact formula of how he went from nothing to a millionaire because it would create competition. What's in it for him? Why would he do that? He'd literally be shooting himself in the foot. But in this particular industry, it's the exact opposite. You get millionaires who are financially incentivized to help you become a millionaire. You know, and so you get around these mentors and these people that are looking for more, that are focused on personal development, that are focused on personal growth, that are focused on learning skills, communication, and sales, and personal branding, and all of these things that are so important. And so just for the community, just for the mentorship alone, everyone should do it, you know, period. Then that's number one. Number two is then it is a vehicle that it is, in my opinion, it's the perfect form of capitalism because it's a way for anybody, no matter who you are, it doesn't matter your race, your religion, your socioeconomic status, your permanent record, your GPA, your resume, literally nothing matters other than your work ethic and your coachability. And anybody can go from the bottom to the top, like anybody, literally anyone. It doesn't matter. It's all who you've been is in the past, and it's all about reinventing yourself in the future. It's almost like back in like the old N64s. You know, there used to be that like reset button that you would hit, you know, and then it would just like reset the whole game. Like that's how I look at this industry for people. That's what it was for me. It was a reset button. It was a way for me to reinvent who Luke Hessler was, from frat rat Luke Hessler to entrepreneur, businessman, you know, like, and it was a real vehicle that I could get into where I knew if I achieved these results, I was going to make this money. And because it was performance-based, it taught me the right habits, you know, like in traditional jobs, this is the problem, is that financial compensation determines behavior. And so if me and you both go to this job, Ralph, and we're getting paid $12 an hour, and guess what? If you work your butt off like all the time and you get all the work done, you know, and I don't, and I'm lazy and I just chill, guess what happens? We get paid the same amount of money. $12 an hour. So it's like, why would I work hard? You know, it's like in a business, in a traditional job, you know what's happening is you're getting paid just enough money so that you don't quit. And then the workers are doing just enough work so that they don't get fired. You know what I'm saying? Like this is, both sides are trying to do the minimum, which creates the wrong behavior. You know, like what it should be is it should be performance-based. If I bring more value, I should get paid more. And that's what I love about this business model is that it's results driven. It doesn't play any favorites. It's like, yo, you produce the results, you get paid. And how much you want to get paid, it's unlimited where you can get to, literally unlimited, you know? And so I love that it's a real vehicle and equal opportunity for anyone to roll with. So that would be the second reason. And then the third reason is in times like this, it's like just straight up, you know, like we are in a transitional period in history and things are moving online. The old way of making money is not as effective as it was. And people are looking for new ways of earning an income. And the reality is that network marketing is a way, okay? And historically, when the economy gets worse and when times get more uncertain, this industry gets better because people become more open-minded to new ways of making money. So from just like a timing perspective, you're looking at a world that is full of uncertainty and confusion and division and anger and fear. And what you can connect them to is a community of hope, of positivity, a plan, faith, you know, like that in itself is so powerful because you can provide, I think in times of great tragedy are also times of great opportunity. I always look for the opportunity in the tragedy, right? And I think this is one of those opportunities where you have a solution for a lot of people that don't know, really what to do. So I think that's it's so powerful, man.
Absolutely. That's truly, truly amazing. I thank you for really sharing that. That'll help people open their minds up, man, honestly. I wanted to give you the floor, man. I know you've been sharing a lot, and I'm really grateful to have you again. But I wanted you to take some time to share on the show what you haven't shared in the first interview, what you haven't shared with somebody in a long time, man. I just wanted to really just give you that room and that space to just share and touch the people deeply.
What do I want to share? I haven't shared in a long time. I didn't share in the first interview. Man, I don't remember what I shared in the first interview. So I'm gonna have to try and not double down. But I'll let's see, what's something I'm working on? All right, here's something. I'm working a lot like right now, on vulnerability in my life. Like my wife is very blessed with her courage of being vulnerable. She's an empath, so she feels so much, and she's very good at connecting with people, and just like building that trust and showing them they're loved and that they care and things like that. And I think that, I said it in the beginning, where like, if people knew the scars that I went through, I think it would be a different perspective. But I struggle sometimes with sharing those scars, because even though in my mind I know vulnerability is strength, like I know that consciously, for some reason it can be difficult for me to admit failures and admit flaws and like go do those different types of things, and so that's something that I'm working on right now, is just trying to be more vulnerable, trying to be more raw, trying to be more, I guess, authentic in that way, and not being, I guess, is scared the right word? Maybe scared, to share that with other people, because what I found is that when I do it, it humanizes me a lot more, and people are much more relatable, and the words I say have more impact, because they realize that, like, wow, like he's gone through that. Like if he's gone through that, then maybe I can, go make something happen, and so. Yeah, I'm not there yet, but I'm definitely working on improving that, in my life.
Absolutely. And thank you for being vulnerable. Honestly, it's power in that, most definitely. Speaking of your wife, man, Maddie, man, she's a phenomenal individual. The first interview, I don't think you guys was just planning a wedding, I believe, or so. It was some time. So congratulations, you all got married and everything. So what is it like, man, for those who may be inspired by you all and just how y'all move together and everything, of being married to your business partner, and things of that nature? Like, what is that, the ups of it and what's the down of it, or something?
Yeah, absolutely. And it is a double-edged sword for sure. Like the ups of it is that we get to spend, all day together. We get to share dreams. We get to travel together. We both have freedom and time and things like that, and so like that's amazing. Like when we have kids eventually, like she will be able to be there with them, and like, all of that kind of stuff. We each have different skill sets. Like I said, she's more of an empath. She's great at connecting relationships. I'm more of a strategic, results focused dude, and so like we balance each other well. And so there's a ton of positives, that are there. However, there definitely are, some challenges that you have to overcome. One of them, being just communication in general, because it's, you have to be able to compartmentalize, right? Because you treat your wife differently than you treat a business partner, but at the same time, when your wife is a business partner, you got to kind of like figure out how to balance that stuff, right? And so that can be difficult, because there are things that I would say to my business partners, where I'm just like, I'm pretty blunt, and I'm just like, if they're not doing what they need to do, it's like, get together, man. Like, let's go. Like, why are you slacking? Like, what's happening, dude? Let's roll. And I can't necessarily talk that bluntly and that directly to my wife, like, because it's a different relationship that's there, right? And so we've been working on navigating that communication of how we can optimize our accountability without any type of collateral damage that affects, the relationship within it itself. Because ultimately, our relationship is more important than the business, like, and we both agree with that. Like our love and who we are as a person, like that connection is more important than anything. It's like we genuinely believe, to become one, we genuinely believe that it's when you make that vow of marriage, it's different than just, being in dating someone and stuff like that. When you make that vow, you do that, we take that very, very seriously. So, our relationship is a top priority for us. And so, how can we make it so that we, always grow the business? Because that's a top priority too. They're right there. It's not either or. It's we got to figure out how we can have both. And how can we do that? And so that's been a process that we're always growing with. We're always learning with. We're always developing. But what's been great is that we've seen progress. We've seen consistent progress in all areas because we really look at ourselves as a team. And every team has their own positions, their own strengths, their own weaknesses, and so we do our best to attack this in a way that it magnifies our strengths, and then the other one can kind of cover up our weaknesses on that front. So it's a balancing act. It really is. But I'm telling you, it's such a freaking blessing. We wouldn't have it literally any other way. And there's no doubt that as time goes on, we identify processes that prove to be effective, and we'll continue to improve every step of the way. So yeah, man, it's been such a blessing, for real.
Absolutely. That's amazing, man. I love that. And a big shout out to y'all too, man. Honestly, I think that's a big step because, you're not 30 yet, but you took that choice that most of us guys are afraid to do. And that's to commit to one woman, and like you say, of course, y'all both different, but at the same time, y'all love each other deeply, and y'all in business together or so like that. And that's what makes the journey worthwhile, right? So I think that's amazing, man, honestly. I like to talk about the travels, man, and at the very beginning, you spoke of really going to Africa and things of that nature, how much that had an impact. What's another place that you've been to internationally, man, that really you felt so much connected to maybe the younger people as well? And, you just felt like, man, I want to come here a lot more often and give back to.
So I would say, honestly, the most impacted I've ever been by far was definitely Africa. Like that was the place that gave me that most impact. Secondary area, I would say would probably be in Thailand. When we went to Thailand recently, people there were very kind and things like that. But then there's also a bunch of stuff that is like, a little bit questionable, honestly. Like when you go there, you see, like prostitution is totally normal and legal. A lot of like minors actually, and that's like cool over there. And like that's like was something that like I guess it didn't sit well with me, especially knowing that like I'm gonna have kids one day and things like that. And so it's like I know to my wife, like the whole like human trafficking thing is like a huge, huge thing, And so when you talk about places that we want to go and help change, I think that it would be cool to be able to. I don't know how we would ever change that, but somehow be a voice for change in that way. It's a beautiful country, the great beaches, the food's awesome. And overall, I highly recommend everybody going there, but that was one thing that we saw where you're kind of like convicted of like, we should make a difference here. We should change this, and so, that's where I would say.
Awesome. Got to visit Thailand sometime, man. What do you feel like in this time in your life, man, or so like that is missing?
Is missing? Like as society is like a whole, or like in like my life personally?
Yeah, your life personally and business, whatever you want to share that you feel like is just really, really missing, that you're looking to, you're looking forward to maybe 2021, the beginning, the middle. You just feel like something is just really, really missing deep inside.
Yeah, bro. What's missing, dude? And I don't know. Like I don't know if there's like one thing in my life that's like man, if I had that one thing, I would be good. You know, like I really feel like everything in life happens for a reason, and life is happening for me. You know, like I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be at this moment in time. You know, would I like to, you know, have more passive income coming in? Yeah. You know, like would I like to be able to impact more people's lives? Yeah. You know, like I would, you know, but I think that I'm at like where I'm supposed to be at this moment. You know, I will say a goal that like I've always wanted to have is like I want to help other people make more money. You know, like that was one of the things that I have found so much joy in. You know, is like when I was younger, I love that story of taking, you know, Jamie from Taco Bell to six figures and things. And so,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
so cool, you know, watching that impact. And so like a goal I have, you know, is by my birthday, so June 25th of 2021, is I want to, you know, help 10 people make 10 grand a month. And so I would say that, I guess that's something that's missing, you know, is that result, is being able to help, you know, those 10 people get to 10 grand a month. Then when I get there though, it's going to be another goal, you know, it's going to be help 10 people get to $1 million, 100 grand a month, you know, and it's going to keep growing. And so I know there's always going to be something I'm going to be striving for. Right. So it's like, it's never like I'm going to get to a place where it's like, everything is perfect, I don't have to do anything now. You know, but I do believe that that's something that I want to do really badly, is to be able to help people do that. And I think it'll happen. You know, it's already done. Just time has to go by now. You know, that's it.
Absolutely. No, that's amazing. I love that, man. That may be a book, taking Jamie from, you know, you can do that. You're taking Jamie from Taco Bell to six figures. You may, man, to put that in thought, put that in your book, man. Put that with your notes.
That's
Honestly, man, I think that's dope. Honestly, man, I've enjoyed you, bro. Honestly, and I thank you for taking time out your busy schedule to be with us today. You know, your story is remarkable. You're so humble about it. You know, I'm talking. We looking at a guy that's, you know, that's built six-figure businesses, but he most importantly helped other people. Like he said, he took a friend from working a $9 hour or whatever it may be into being around professional people and growing in a professional environment. And that's what it's about. Everybody may not be made to, you know, they say they may not want to be an entrepreneur, but we are made to be independent and create our own and work with people who are like-minded on a similar mission, right? And that's what I really love about Luke, and he's very humble about it, you know, or so like that. And I just hope this message really, really inspired and moved somebody in a way, because it has definitely impacted me or so, man. I know we got a few minutes left, Luke, or so like that, man. And I wanted to really, really ask, man, you know, when it's all said and done,
mm-hmm.
and I mean, it's years to fly by, and you have something to leave behind for your son. What
So
would that be?
what do I want to leave behind for my son? Deep question.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot I want to leave behind for my son, you know, but I would say the most important thing is I want to leave behind an example of living a God-filled life. You know, I look at David in the Bible, you know, and he was like a man after God's own heart, right? And that's what I want to leave for my son, is an example of someone who really was that, in all areas of life, you know. And so that's, yeah, more than anything, is I just want to be an example.
Yeah, indeed. Absolutely, man. Man, I wanted to take some time, man, which I, you know, wanted to do. I think it's only right, and show my gratitude towards you for really, really being present, for sharing your story, for being vulnerable, man. And I know that's something you're still working on. And just being just yourself, honestly, man. Devoting time to not just be on the show, but to share a lot of practical, creative tips, things that's going to help people implement into their life and take away to share with their people, you know, or so like that, to give them a game-changing mindset, to let them know that if you can do it, they can too, right? So, man, I wanted to give you your roses while you're here, good brother, man, and say thank you for really being with us today, man.
Hey, My pleasure, man. Thank you for having me. Seriously, it's always an honor. It's always a privilege being able to talk with you, man. You come up with such great intuitive questions. It helps me out, honestly, man. It really does. So thank you for being you, and I'm excited to have the next convo, bro.
Absolutely. Third one, huh?
Hey, man.
Indeed.
I'm just excited to talk with you even after the show, bro. I just enjoy talking with you, period.
My man, my man. Yeah, we definitely got to do that. We probably had to do that when we in the same city, in person, in the room, and knock it out.
There
My
we go.
man, though. Luke, I wanted you to leave off something, that's going to move the people before we get out of here, and also just your social media, man.
Yeah, absolutely. So my social media, you can find me on Instagram, Facebook, and Instagram is Luke_Hessler. Facebook, it's just my name, Luke Hessler. And yeah, I mean, final piece of advice for people that are on this call is like, I just encourage you to take a hard look at where you're at in your life, like take inventory of where you're at in all areas, your physical body, take inventory of where your relationships are at, where's your spiritual life at, financially, where's your life at? Are you happy with the money that's in your bank account? Are you happy with the car you drive, the house you live in, like the income that's coming in, the time freedom that you have? Like take a hard look at where you're at in your life right now. And then number two, is do that exercise, of life as we want it to be. And pretend, that you had $1 billion, you hit the lottery and it was impossible to fail. What would you do? Where would you go? What type of clothes would you wear? What type of car would you drive? Would you donate to charities? Would you retire your parents? Like what does that ideal life really look like for you? And once you know where you're at, and then where you want to go, after that is just find someone who's already there. All right. Find someone who's already done that path, and then freaking listen to them. Okay. Don't question it. Don't think into it. Just do it. Listen to them. And that can change your life, because at the end of the day, the guy at the top of the mountain didn't fall to the sky, so that would be my last piece of advice.
For my man, that's how you leave it off with. Guys, I'm Terrell Sumter. That's my guy, Luke Hessler. Please leave us a review. Follow my guy, Mission, and continue to support him along that way. We ended with a bang, man. It's Inspire Before We Expire, and we're out. Woo! My man.